We're going to talk about my first 6 months in jail, way back in '76. And I got 6 months for violation of the state drug dependency law, to wit, possession of heroin in another state. And I was squealed on by this guy named Harry Boughton, and I was busted at the Newark train station. There was all kinds of cops waiting for me for one New York quarter. Okay, so get 6 months. My first time really in jail. And so this big goon in the AP room, processing room, after I was mostly processed, he said, "Oh, you can't have that gold earring, man, one of these gold earrings." And I don't know, I had no idea. And he had an envelope, so I put it in his hand, and it's very stupid. You give it to one of the cops in jail and you get a receipt. So the next day I saw this asshole wearing my ring. Okay, so I go to the old jail. I'm in the old jail and I meet Joe Monero. Monero used to be a dope fan. He was pretty badass too, but now he was, I don't know, 40s, late 40s. He just became a drinker. And, you know, everybody was like screwing Linda Savagno back then, and him too. So Linda got around. Anyway, but he was something else. He used to swallow razor blades. He says, "I got to pull one of my tricks and get sent to the Hills, Fairfield Hills Hospital in Newtown, Connecticut." He actually did swallow one, and they had to cut it out of his stomach. And every other time he put one in his mouth, he told them, "Oh, I swallowed another razor blade." They sent him to the Hills again. He showed me the scar. But he was very well known among the bums in Bridgeport. So we meet up and start talking. And he says, "Are you any good at math? I know you're good at math because you seem like a smart guy." I said, "Yeah, actually, yeah, I am." He said, "I need you to check this guy's minimus, which is his commitment paper. His name is Jackie Mott, and he believes he should be getting out next week. And the jail records is telling them he's getting out in 6 months. But it's a complicated case. There's all these different concurrent, consecutive sentences." So I get a hold of the record and all the dates, and I talked to Jackie, and I figured it out again. I said, "They're wrong." I said, "You should get out next week." And I showed him the math, and eventually he did get out the following week. And boy, I had a friend for life, Jackie. And he actually hooked me up with a place to live when I got out. Okay, so Joe's talking about throwing a brick. He said, "Man, all the bums are going to be coming in." It was November, getting cold. I said, "What the hell do you mean, throwing a brick?" And he said, "Well, they do a small crime, and the judge gives them maybe 4 or 5 months in the county, and they lay up for the winter. Their checks build up, they get out in March, April, and they're good to go." And I said, "I can't believe it. People are actually doing that to come to jail?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "You don't want to throw a brick through the window and hit somebody, because you'll make it 5 years for that." So all of a sudden, sure as hell, different bums start coming in. And Joe says, "There's Charlie the bum, there's Tony, there's this guy." And they all come in and they all want their good time figured out, because you got good time on the sentence. They want to know exactly when they're getting out. This guy says, "Oh, I have to be out for my niece's wedding, April 4th. Can you figure out why I get out by that date?" So I figured out, and I was always right, I know that. And so one guy starts arguing with me, and just like 8 of them had come in. We're all in the old cells, in single cells in the old jail, built in like 1850. And this one guy asked me to figure out his. Goes to Joe. Joe said, "Hey, Mike, do it." So okay, I did it. And I said, he thinks he's getting out at this date, but he's getting out like a month later. The guy finds out and he goes bonkers on me. We're all sitting in the card room playing cards and stuff like that. The guy starts yelling at me. Monero gets up. He said, "Listen, he is fucking right. I know he's right. You're not getting out till May 4th, whatever it was." The guy was not happy. So Joe says to me, I know the captain. I'll get you a good job in the jail. You want a good job? I said, sure. So next day I go see the captain, and they make me one of the commissary people. And I used to walk all through the jail, every cell, and people would say, I'll sign up for $5, $25. Then they would check if it's on their books, and they'd issue a card, and then I'd hand them out. Okay, so I got to go everywhere. That doesn't happen in jail. And so we're in the commissary, me and Floyd, this black guy from Father Panic, right? And so we hooked up a deal. Monero helped us hook it up. So with different people, we would put extra in their bags, and they would have to give us half of it. Okay. Other people were like waving, hey, put some in the bag. Unless it was, I knew it was someone who was down with the deal. I didn't do it. The bags are so freaking heavy. We sent out so much stuff. Cigarettes were $3 a carton back then. And we made $3.50 a week. So it wasn't bad. You could buy a carton of cigarettes and maybe a bar of soap or something like that. And after a while, we had so much stuff. It was all in my cell. And there was a time there was like 50 cartons of cigarettes, all kinds of cosmetics, food, crap like that. Someone had to stay during chow to guard the cell. Okay, so we have all this. This kind guard gives me the trilogy by Tolkien to read. Fantasy, man, I'm someplace else. I always do that. So that was quite cool. And I used to get the stuff away. Monero would be over there playing pinochle, and he'd have like 8 cartons of cigarettes, playing, carton in hand, whatever happened to be insane, but I didn't care. Actually, I quit smoking after that. You could see like 50 cartons of cigarettes, right? So he says, hey, you got to get on the med line. I said, okay. And he said, you see the shrink. Tell him this, tell him that, you can't sleep. Okay. So he puts me on Valium, 5 milligrams, the yellow ones, 3 times a day. Yeah, okay. And they usually put them in like a glass of water. So, they would dissolve, and you really couldn't like save them. But this gay guy, one of the medics, would come in early in the morning, and he would just put the dry pill in a cup and give it to me. So I saved them. I must have had, I don't know, 20 or 30 of them, right? All of a sudden, my fat-ass friend, Ron Black, comes into jail. He never comes to jail. And he got busted for a burglary. They gave him 1 year. He thought he was going to go to a program. He was flipped. I used to walk around, like I said, so I went and talked to him. And I said, hey, tomorrow I'm going to give you a whole cup of Valiums when you walk by. You had to walk like single file. We had Scuba, one of the guards, we call them cops, there making sure you're against the wall, something like that. So I said, when you're coming back from chow, you'll be on my side. I'm going to hand them off to you. Okay. So now it's happening. He's nervous as all get out. I'm not. I'm valiant up, So I make the handoff to him, and he fumbles on the 10-yard line, drops all the volumes. They're all over the floor. People finally see what they are, and they start picking them all up. So he gets busted, not me. Now he's really freaked out because he's hoping to get a penal transfer to the hills, a drug program in the hills. And he's, Gator, you gotta help me. So finally I went to one of the cops and I said, wait a minute. I was the one who had those, and they were on the cell bar somewhere, and I knocked them off on the floor, and that's where they came from. And so he got off, got his penal transfer, and got out. And they fined me like a week's pay, so I still had my job. And so then when I got out, after 6 months, Jackie Mott, the guy I helped figure out his time, let me stay with him and Janae and their kid and his cat. He used to piss all over the house. So right away, his father starts having, he works for the city. Every Friday, whatever payday was, he would go out and buy a couple of huge half gallons of booze, like, whiskey, rye, a few cases of beer, and have a party out behind the house. And all the kids would come. I guess there'd be some adults. All the kids would come and everybody get smashed. So I hook up with this girl named June. And I think she was like 20 years old. She wasn't attractive at all. I just wanted like a piece of ass, you know. But the next thing you know, this girl wants to marry me. Her mother wants her to marry me. I had an apartment by now, and the mother's dropping off like sheets, pots and pans, this and that. I couldn't believe it. But she had a niece named Carol who was going out with this other guy, Chink. That's who it was. We're always sitting around there. We're playing music and stuff like that, getting stoned. But Carol was absolutely gorgeous. And she was 18. June was 20. So I wanted Carol. And eventually I hooked up with Carol. And good God Almighty. It was something else. And by that time, so we were going to get an apartment together. We were thinking like the two chicks and me. And it was going to be 2 bedrooms. 2 bedrooms. So June is thinking June and me in 1 bedroom. And, you know, Carol in the other. Me and Carol are thinking we're in 1 bedroom and June's in the other. And we had to like break the news to her, man. It was like hard to do. Hard to do. It had far-reaching consequences. But then I got drunk one time. I was engaged to Carol now. I'm really frickin' drunk. And she was getting on my ass after we were up at my brother's house because I wouldn't talk to her. I'm talking to my brother and we were getting whacked. And then she said something to me when we came home. And I slapped her. And I slapped her hard. Only 3 times in my life I ever did that. And I regret every one of them. And holy shit. Next day she just moved all her stuff out, her art supplies. She was a student at Housatonic University College. Yeah, and I never saw her after that. Heartbreaking.